All right, so you bought some crypto on an exchange and now you want to know where and how to store it. I'm going to show you guys how to do that right now. This little guy right here, this is a Ledger and this is a Trezor. I'm going to use this for tonight's video, but both of these two devices, these are what are known as cold storage devices. First, I guess we need to explain to you guys what a cold storage device is, because, you know, why would I keep something on a piece of hardware as opposed to just on my computer or an exchange or some kind of wallet that is hooked up to the internet? So to keep this as simplistic and non-nerdy as possible, I want you guys to understand how digital assets ownership is given access to people. Let's just take Bitcoin, for example, because it's the #1 digital asset or cryptocurrency. So when you have ownership over a Bitcoin or multiple Bitcoins or fractions of Bitcoin, whatever, you have an address, kind of like a mailing address or an email address, that if you want to receive the Bitcoin, it is sent to. But what is actually being sent to that address? It's not so much the Bitcoin itself, but rather the private keys that claim ownership, or actually that validate your ownership to that digital asset. To understand how this works, digital assets and cryptocurrencies, blockchain-based digital assets, all pretty much work the same way, but let's just take Bitcoin for an example. So when you have ownership over a Bitcoin, you don't actually really have custody of that Bitcoin itself. What you actually have custody to is something called a private key, or the private keys that prove ownership to you for that digital asset. And since we're talking about Bitcoin, let's just say you have in some wallet, maybe that wallet's on an exchange, maybe it's not, whatever. Right now, we just know it's a wallet. If you have Bitcoin on that wallet, the Bitcoin isn't actually stored in that wallet per se. Your private keys that give you ownership or allow you to claim ownership for that Bitcoin, or plural, multiple Bitcoins, are stored in that wallet. Those Bitcoin or those digital assets are actually stored on the blockchain. They just stay there forever. But an easy way to think about this is kind of like you have a wallet that you have keys to a house or a property, and those keys basically just allow you to claim ownership for that property or that house. So again, without getting too technical, something like this guy right here, this is where you would be storing your private keys to your digital asset. Now, the benefit of something like this is when it's not plugged in your computer, you can rest assured that no one's gonna be able to take your private keys or hack your private keys. And it's just an overall better way. Otherwise, if you're using a hot wallet or something that's connected to the internet constantly, or something that is connected to your computer constantly, and your computer is connected to the internet, there's a chance that someone could just keylog your computer or embed some kind of malicious software or malware after you download something, and they could just see your keystrokes. Or they could do some shadowy supercoding and just manipulate some software in your machine somewhere that could just allow them to send your crypto from your wallet to their wallet. That's why this is the safest thing you can do, or going with one of these devices is your best bet. So this, again, this is a Trezor. This is my favorite pick because I think they're extra cool, and they're kind of like the Mercedes of cold storage wallets. But this requires you, in order to download some kind of software on your computer and to plug it in your computer to interact with it. I'm going to show you guys how to do that right now. So I went ahead and plugged in the Trezor to my computer, and when you initially plug it in, you're going to get a little pop-up depending on what operating system you're in. I'm using Mac operating system, so I got a little pop-up in the top right corner, and if you click that pop-up, it'll bring you right to the Trezor Suite website. If you don't get that pop-up, go ahead and go to suite.trezor.io/start, and that should get you there as well. So I'm going to go ahead and click this Get Desktop Application button, and it already knows that I'm in Apple, but you might want to double check before you click it. So that's downloading now. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the file, and that went ahead and made this application visible on my machine. I'm just putting it in my applications folder. All right, and now we're brought to the Trezor Suite, and it already notices that I have my Trezor plugged in. Now it's just gonna ask you if you wanna give it permission to collect data in case there's a crash. You can go ahead and choose what you wanna do with that. I'm not gonna let him do that. Security check. First, it asks you if that hologram on the bottom of it, and if you hover over this guy, it shows you a picture. Make sure that was completely intact. If that wasn't intact, then you might not want it. You definitely don't wanna use this device. And also, one thing I want to mention to you guys is to make sure that you buy this from the Trezor website itself, not from eBay or Amazon or where else. And it notes that here. Now we have to install the newest version of the firmware, and that is just basically the software that exists on the little Trezor device itself. So I'm going to go ahead and click install. And it looks like it did the job. If you guys pick up your physical Trezor while it's plugged in to your machine, it should just show a lock symbol now. And I'm going to go ahead and click the continue button. And if you're new, this is the first time you're doing this, you're not going to want to recover an old wallet. This is the option that you would choose if you lost your Trezor and you happen to still have your seed phrase. Go ahead and buy a new Trezor and recover that wallet with your previous seed phrase. But since we want to pretend like we don't have a wallet at all, let's go ahead and create a new wallet. And here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a standard seed backup. You guys can do the Shamir share backup, which is basically just the seed phrase plus a couple extra words that you add to it just for extra security. But for now, for simplicity's sake, let's just do this because it's about as standard as it gets. And you guys can't see this right now, but I have the Trezor in my hand and it's asking me, do you want to create a new wallet? And there's a giant green checkbox and a giant red X. I'm gonna go ahead and click the check on the green checkbox and let that load. And now it says your wallet is almost ready. You successfully set up your Trezor and created your wallet. You should never use your Trezor without backing it up. It is the only way to recover a lost wallet. So if you haven't had a backup yet, you definitely want to create backup here. And now it's going to say your Trezor is going to generate a list of words which you need to write down. And okay, if you guys remember me pointing out to you all earlier that little white pamphlet, the tiny square white pamphlet, that's why I said you needed to keep that, because there actually are 12 different underlined sections for there to write the 12 words for your seed phrase. But if you don't want to use that little thing, I mean, you can just use any piece of paper. 100% do not type this in a file on your computer. Do not send this in a text message. Do not have this stored anywhere digitally. Have this in a physical piece of paper that you wrote with your hands only. And so now I'm going to say, check your backup and device before sending money. And these are just the things that they wanted to make you reminded of before you do anything. And click begin backup. Now you're going to get another confirmation button on your Trezor. It's going to be green and say I understand, so click that. And you guys also cannot see this because it is not on the screen, but now my Trezor itself is actually showing me 12 words, and I'm going to go ahead and write those 12 words down. And once you've written those 12 words down, after you get to the number 12 word on your device, you're going to get another green button that says hold to confirm. So go ahead and hold that button down and you should get a green check mark. And now also on the little Trezor device itself, it's going to prompt you to choose from these words in order, confirm that you had them correct. So I'm going to go ahead and do that even though you guys can't see it. And keep in mind, you guys don't want anybody to see these 12 words ever. These are for you to know only, and that is it. All right, so I went ahead and created the backup, and now it's just going to ask me to create a PIN on my Trezor as well. So, and the PIN is just something that you can use kind of like the same way you would set a PIN for an alarm code or for a bank account or whatever. And this is what you're going to have to type in on your Trezor on the touchscreen anytime you plug this guy in a computer. All right, and my PIN is set. So now I continue, and now we can just set up initially what type of tokens or coins we want to add to this wallet. And I'm just going to click Bitcoin and then Ethereum, which includes all ERC20 tokens, and then click complete setup. You guys can choose to set a custom blockchain backend, or you guys can choose to use a Tor when doing this. That's up to you. And boom, now I have my device, and I'm just going to give it a name, ELP Trezor. Now let's go into the suite. It's going to ask you which wallet type you have. That hidden wallet, that's the extra layer of protection I talked about earlier. Essentially, you can add some extra words to your seed phrase. It's either before or after, I really don't remember. But I'm just going to use a standard wallet. And keep in mind, guys, you want to have your Trezor plugged in the entire time. When we wrote down those 12 words, you can essentially, although this doesn't work exactly that way, you can essentially think of those 12 words as your private keys, okay? Those are what give you the ability to claim ownership over your digital assets. And now you can basically think of this as, hey, I have my private keys. They were created and stored on this little Trezor device. And as soon as I unplug this guy, those keys are inaccessible anywhere online. So obviously I have a balance of $0. And if I want to receive something, I have Bitcoin selected over here. Let's just say I have Bitcoin that I bought on my Cash App and I want to send it from there to here. I can click receive on here and get the address. I'm not going to show you guys the full address to this one, but if you click that, it will go ahead and show it to you. All right, so if you did click that show full address button, it'll show it to you, and then you're going to go ahead and have a prompt on your Trezor device to make sure that the address on the software is the same exact address that is displaying on your device. And you can go ahead and copy that address from the application on your computer and send it to yourself. Let's just say you did what I did and wanted to send Bitcoin from Cash App. You can send that address to yourself in a secure message or email or whatever you think is the most secure for you. Copy that address, go over to your Cash App application or Coinbase or whatever application it is that you chose to buy the Bitcoin on, and most likely somewhere you're going to see a little arrow that looks like a mail arrow. That is the send button. You clicked that, or I clicked that, and then I went ahead and put the amount of Bitcoin I wanted to send, pasted the address that I got from here, and then click send. And as you guys can see, I sent about $52 of Bitcoin, and it went ahead and was received here almost immediately. The reason it was immediate, which isn't pertinent to this video, is that I believe this was using the Lightning Network to send that transaction, which is pretty cool. And there you have it. Now I have some Bitcoin on this device. And if I went back to this device, you can see some statistics about it. This transaction is actually still pending because I just sent it. So if I wanted to send it off of this device, I would click the send button and I could just paste an address in here, or I could scan a QR code. And yeah, that is it. Now you have some Bitcoin on your cold storage wallet or Ethereum or whatever ERC20 token you decided to put on there. All right, guys, I hope that was helpful. If you guys didn't really understand 100% the nuance behind like actually sending to a certain address or receiving from a certain address, or you don't understand blockchain tech in general from a normal person's perspective, I'm gonna go ahead and put a link for a video titled "What is a Blockchain" somewhere at the end of this. So go ahead and click that one and watch it if you're interested and you want to learn more about that as well. I hope that was helpful. If you don't understand something, feel free to leave a comment in the section below. This is Josh from Meatloaf Program, and I'm out.